Okay, you're going to learn a lot about monster design today. I'm going to teach you all the little things, the nitty gritty about designing certain creatures and how you do it as we're doing a creature design. I penciled in a quick creature right now, and I'm going to kind of pop into it and we'll talk. I'll kind of talk through it so that you understand what's going on. Let's get going. All right, right now I mostly scribbled this stuff in, this underlay in, and the whole point of the underlay is to give me a good framework so I don't have to think too much about proportion, right? And I already have more or less my idea, right? I wanted to make kind of like the face very similar to, if you guys ever seen, whatchamacallit, Trimmers, the Grab Boys. I was kind of thinking about their face on kind of a, like, I don't know, elephant's body. That's kind of more or less was going through my mind. When I'm thinking of different things, right? When I'm thinking of different aspects to drawing in general, when I'm thinking of different parts of drawing is, you know, enjoyable first and foremost. We're talking about like creatures. Creatures are almost entirely, I would say almost 99% of the creatures that you see designed, they're almost always, and I mean literally 99% of the time, based on amalgam of different living animals. And the reason they do that is the whole reason they even do that, and everyone does that, is because it looks real and it looks familiar, yet it doesn't exist, right? That's what's cool about it. So you're kind of playing that up. You're pushing that. You're taking chunks of reality and putting them into your world. And when you convince the audience that your animal exists, right? If they're convinced that they can suspend disbelief for enough of a period of time, you've kind of won, right? You know that's like a good design when they've suspended that disbelief for as long as they needed to believe your creature's real, right? Whether that be in an animation or a drawing or a movie. I know within animation, it tends to be, I'm sorry, within illustration right here, within like a drawing, it can be easier because it's just a still frame. They don't have to buy into that much. It'd be a lot harder if we had to take this dude and we had to make him move around. That would be much harder, right? Much harder. So a couple of key points right here in this area. You want to make sure, this is a tooth. The tooth has to be gripped in there, regardless of whatever creature or animal, has to be gripped in. Kind of think about the way your gums look, right? Your gums look a certain way, and they have to be gripped in there because why? Because they're going to be using them. They're going to be using them. They're going to be thrashing. They're going to be using it for I don't know, hunting or chewing, or like this is more of like a horn tooth. But even with a horn tooth, right? They're still stuck in there, right? They're stuck in there somehow. They're not just going to fall off, right? Even when they shed. So it has to look gripped in. Back here as well. And I have enough of the design figured out, but it's not so figured out that, you know, there's no room to change. So this already, I'm okay with it. I think it looks a little stiffer than I imagined right here. So I'm going to try to break up the shapes right here, right? Let's try to break it up. And throw a couple of, maybe, sometimes just throwing these little organic shapes, like these little folds, can kind of save it. Because, for example, they're too even right here. I want it to look a little bit uneven. Because we're dealing with a real, like, creature, right? That's the whole point. We're trying to make this believable. So real creatures have uneven stuff all the time, right? Your teeth are not totally even. Let's see, maybe the eyes can be right here. Maybe he'll have some bug eyes. Didn't even think about the eyes. Maybe have some sort of like those small, you know, dark bug eyes all over the place. Right? And again, those are gripped in there as well. Right? So at the very end, I'm going to show you how to tie it together. But right now, like I said, we're just going through the thought process each way. I think this is okay. I wish it was split a little bit more, this center part. More like a spider. Right here. Curve. Curve, curve, curve. Right here, these skin folds. A lot of this stuff right here, for example, these little folds, it's really with direction, right? So they're wrapping around. So I'm thinking about that shape, right? That cone. This is like a cone almost, like a thick round cone. And the skin is going to wrap around it, right? Because it's kind of in there, it's embedded in there somehow. Right on. Let's go underneath his lower jaw over here. We're finding his lower jaw first because, I mean, it's a good idea for one, because I don't know how far it's going to go, right? And it's going to make it a little bit better right there. There you go. Cool. So another thing we look at over here, imperfections. We're talking about the same imperfections, organic. Right here, it's too smooth, right? I mean, I know sometimes you have horns of a bull, and they can be pretty smooth sometimes because they regrow the keratin, right? But I would like to give it a little bit of imperfection right here. Maybe some gashes or lines in there. Just a bit, not like a ton. Let's do some teeth going up. All right, let's get the tongue over here as well. The tongue is going to be in there, right? We want to show like it's deep inside there. And it's kind of curled back a little bit. So it's going to curl along this edge right here. There you go. There we go. Over here along this area. We got one side of the mouth over here. We don't have this side. So let's go over here. Line around this area. Maybe throwing in another tooth over here on this side. Looks pretty good so far. And you're thinking about like underneath the tongue, for example, and more organic stuff. Think about the inside of your own mouth, like when you brush your teeth. That's what I do. Thinking about like, you know, under my tongue, it's like, I don't know, like this pink, fleshy, like flab over here, right? It's not even like a flab, but it's like loose skin on top of like a hard surface right there. And so we're just putting in a couple of things to make that so. All right, pretty good so far. All right, let's go down to his body. So right here, his neck is going to attach into his body, right? There's no saying it's a him either. It could be a girl, it could be a mother or something, right? Over here, the shoulder. And over here, we're going to give it a kind of like a dog body, a dog or cat kind of body. Curve along the chest area. Right there. So shoulder's going to be around this area right here. It's going to pull back. Right along this area. And let's see. I haven't decided how. I think I'm gonna make him walk on spikes as well. Yeah, there you go. So over here, the L is gonna bend. And then as he hits the ground right here, it's gonna have these like hook-like stuff over here, kind of like the way a bat walks, but it's gonna be the main way this guy walks. And real quick, let me show you real fast, okay? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what's happening with that hand right there? Curve along here, tricep. Down over here. Same thing, hits the ground with a hook back there. Okay, so if we look at it right now, it's very flat, right? See how that doesn't look organic? We want to add a little bit of organicness to it. So right over here, we're going to go pull out a little bit of the muscle. If you know, we're assuming there's a little bit more. Pulling the imperfection out just a bit. The crick of the arm over here. Maybe the bone is going to seep in a little bit right there. It's going to be a little bit folding of the skin. We're showing it information. We're showing information as we do this. Right? We're showing that there's kind of a bump right there. It looks like maybe tendon or flesh. Over here in this area. Over here in the arm, right? Some like folds in the armpit, right? Again, these foldings are what make it look organic or not. All right, let's see. Let me see over here. Let's go over here to the back, okay? Let's go to the back area. So over here, you're gonna see kind of the top of the rib cage going down. Over here, you can see the side of the rib cage along this end. Over here. Down, kind of you can see the back over there. Line over here, and you see the hind leg over here. And the hind leg this is super important. I talked about this in the other video with animals and stuff. The hind leg right here is going to go up, right there. The heel is super raised off the ground. So the heel is kind of like our heel touches the ground, but this is, they call it centigrade. Centigrade, yeah. Where basically they're watching, or digigrade, I'm sorry, digigrade. Digigrade where they're walking on their digits. And then we're plantigrade where we're walking on our heel. We're planting our foot right on the ground. So back there for that guy. And so we would assume his other leg would be out over here somewhere. His other, let's see, so if he's here, somewhere around here, it's gonna plant the foot on the ground in the back. It's cool because you could also throw in you could also throw in forgive me. You can use like a tail. I mean, we could have it like this, it'd be creepy, but I think I like tails in general, so you can kind of do this sort of thing. And then imagine it coming over here. Maybe something like so. That could be pretty cool. Now, I'm going to throw in a bunch of dark shapes here. Like I'm going to grab a little bit of a thicker thicker pen here. If you have any questions, by the way, let me know in the comments. That's what it's for. The comments are for that. I'm going to be very, very easy to reach now. I want to hear you guys, your thoughts. Your thoughts are really, really important. So I read every single comment, by the way. So that's something big. Putting in the dark here because things are naturally going to get darker as they roll down. That's just kind of the way it works. Almost always the light source is above. So it's going to be pretty obvious that that's going to, it's going to be that way. It's almost always that way. But you don't want to darken in like everything. Some people like doing that, like just making a dark shadow. We could make parts of this the dark shadow, I guess. That would be completely acceptable. So maybe like this portion under the body here, right? This portion of the body. And this part where he's folding. That'll be probably more with the other pen. And then over here in the back. Over here as well, we're darkening in kind of pinpointed areas right here. There'd be the most dark like in the armpit maybe. Like I said, right underneath the body, back here on the leg. That's his tricep. So maybe right here at the tip of the knee, right? Things aiming downward. Over here as well, like on that tail, that new tail we just gave him, right? There'll be a lot there, you know? There we go. And line over here. Under here. Same thing over here with one touching. And like I said before, this would be it'd be a great way to put like a cast shadow on the floor here. Maybe just, and simple, don't overthink it, right? Do not overthink it. Just kind of approximate where you think it would be. And it won't be that big of a shadow, right? I mean, he's a big character. I'm assuming he's pretty tall, but, it's still, he's pretty high off the ground, so it won't be too wild there. Let's put some shadows into his face now. We got to get back in there. Okay, let's get into his face. And this is kind of really important right there. Obviously, it's going to be in the pit of his throat here. That's going to be the biggest areas right there. Take care of. Line it into the tongue. Maybe around this area as well. Maybe one tooth casting a shadow on the other. But not too much. Again, a big part of this is you choosing, right? Like where you want your monster design to differ. Your shadows are designed just as much as anything else. So that's something you have to keep in mind. I know in many ways you're like, well, it would cause a cast shadow here, or this is the way it would look. True. Sometimes you do have to edit stuff for it to make sense. Or I'm sorry, not to make sense, for it to be readable to your viewer. Your viewer might see it a different way. Your viewer might be confused. It's like, what? They're not even sure what's going on. So it's up to you to be very careful with it. go. Just kind of putting in a little bit, some touches here, maybe below. Almost think about it like this is a brush tip kind of, but think about it, you know, again, you're trying to form clarity. That's probably the best way to do it. What would give more clarity to your viewer while keeping in, right, the stuff that you want for the most part, okay? So you gotta like think about it in that sense. Like, how would that work? Let's zoom out a little bit. Zoom out. Right, let's go back out here. And I'm like, it's pretty good. It's decent. I would say for sure needs to be more of a break right here. I want to put a little bit of the musculature showing right here as well. Edge of the tail over on this side of the tail. Made it a little bit thicker right there. Again, you want some of the folding right here in the arm, like these muscles or whatever. And I'm kind of more or less making it up right here, because I'm thinking of animals, but at the same time, I'm not like thinking that hard about animals. It's just like, again, like a creature design that, you know, I'm putting thought behind, right? You're putting thought behind, like, hey, how's he gonna walk, or how's he gonna move forward, or how's he gonna do that, right? So there'll probably be folds underneath his neck because he like moves his neck a lot. And we're pretty much about, I think, done. This is, you can call it like done at this stage, I think, for a sketch, right? You could always like push it further, go into every little fold, and you capture it around. But I hope you learned something. I mean, I know you're watching the whole thing. If you want more full out demos on creatures, like you know, the semi-large scale right here. If you want full out demos, let me know, and I'll put more. Just again, I read the comments. Everything will be in the comments. Okay. So like I said, everything I learned from you will be in the comment section. So let me know what you think, and thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.